Brilliant news!
International humanitarian law is the law that regulates the conduct of war. It's basically a sensible agreement between everyone to fight in a way that doesn't wipe us all off the face of the earth, and also aims towards the mitigation of inevitable destruction and human suffering. With that in mind, here are 10 weapons that have been banned from war. 1. Dirty bombs. These dirty bombs that are laced with radioactive material and are intended to render an area of enemy land unusable by anyone are illegal. And given the effect they have on civilian life, it's no wonder. Number 2. Plastic landmines. The Protocol 1 of the 1979 Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons states that it is prohibited to use any weapons containing fragments which are not detectable in human bodies by X-rays. Because if fragments were hard to detect, then they couldn't be easily removed by field surgeons, which would unnecessarily prolong the victim's suffering. Number 3. Gas. The use of poison gases during warfare is known as chemical warfare, and this kind of warfare was prohibited by the Geneva Protocol of 1925, and also by the later Chemical Weapons Convention of 1993. The latter agreement also prohibits the development, production, stockpiling, and sale of such weapons. Number 4. Poisoned bullets. Before it was prohibited, soldiers would soak their bullets in poison or put them in dead bodies and other bacteria-ridden things to make sure the victim died either from the gunshot wound or from severe infection. The Strasbourg Agreement put a stop to this in 1675, prohibiting chemical weapons. Number 5. Spike pits. Technically, spike pits were viewed as biological warfare. Soldiers that were fortunate enough to survive the fall usually had to deal with infections from the cuts obtained. But in the 1979 Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, spike pits were outlawed in Protocol 2. Number 6. Biological weapons. Taking down an enemy by spreading disease is a well-known ancient tactic. Warring parties would catapult rotten bodies over city walls in order to spread nasty diseases amongst their enemies. But seeing as this effect can be difficult to contain, posing a possible threat to the entire human race, any form of biological weapon has now been banned from warfare. 7. Cluster bombs. In 2008, the Convention on Cluster Munitions banned cluster bombs for 2 reasons. 1. They have an effect on a wide area, so they are unable to distinguish between civilians and combatants. And 2. Cluster bombs can leave behind large quantities of dangerous unexploded ordnance. Number 8. Fire balloons. By using the jet stream over the Pacific Ocean, the Japanese fire balloon was the first ever weapon possessing international range. The balloons were intended to instill fear and terror in the US, but also cause forest fires in the process. Their unpredictability got them banned. Number 9. Old bombs. Protocol 5 of the Convention of Certain Conventional Weapons prohibits the use of explosive remnants of war. Abandoned explosive ordnance may not have been primed, fused, armed, or otherwise prepared for use and pose dangers similar to landmines. Number 10. Laser beams. Lasers can be so powerful that when shone in someone's eye, can permanently blind them. So it is prohibited to employ laser weapons specifically designed as a combat function to cause permanent blindness to the naked eye, both on the battlefield and among civilians. What weapons would you ban from war and why?